Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Foxy podcast, the show where we talk about different topics and see where the conversation takes us. I'm your host Foxy, and today on this special season finale, as it were, of the podcast, I decided to do something very different. I wanted to have a group of people that were involved in the wrestling RPG, Future Wrestling, on the Nerds OS channel, and basically get their thoughts on the RPG as a whole or their characters and see where the conversation happens there. But today I'm joined by the Booker man, Kyle Decker, aka John Nolan.
You flatter me so, dear darling.
Violet Storm, aka Kira. Move Stealer Jim E. Morris. Shotgun Cutter. Mantano Jerry Soul, aka Rob Midas, and the man with all the rage, James Rage. So, welcome to the podcast. And first off, now, by the time this is coming out, we'd be finished the first season of the RPG. And with this, I wanted to get everyone's thoughts on it. So, as a whole, how did you find your experience with the RPG? So I'll open it up to anyone.
I'll kick it off since you're floundering.
This is Dennis's first and only Foxy Bros podcast.
It's my second. It's my second. I have been on this podcast before. Yes. RPG. It was a lot of fun. For me personally, I haven't played anything RPG related. I have watched a wrestling RPG on YouTube just before it started. I think actually I messaged Jamie about it. I think back in the day, it was I don't even know. No Rolls Barred, I think it was, but they started doing a wrestling RPG, and I was like, oh, that might be kind of cool. Because I didn't actually even know any existed. I think RPG, I think Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of thing. And I know it's technically the same thing in functionality, but it's something that we're all fans of. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, kind of getting to develop a character from scratch and seeing where he goes, and you kind of get attached to your character by the end of things, as I'm sure, much like D&D. I'm sure the others are the same too. Others speak.
Someone jump in. That's the cue.
I got into it like halfway through because of Amy messaging me randomly and seeing if I wanted to be a part of it. Yeah. What? Is that what you did to you too? Yeah. Yeah, but I had done something kind of like this when I was younger on I'm sure you remember Bebo.
Oh yes.
But there was a thing on that where I kind of did something like this anyway. So I kind of had an idea of what I had to do. But I basically went into it blind because why would I watch the videos to give myself some sort of familiarity with what the hell was going on? Because that would only just be the smart thing to do. But I enjoyed it. And that's the reason I kept stealing people's moves, because I genuinely knew no one's moves when I went to it. So when I had to think of a finisher, I was like, ring to Saturn, crash ring. That makes sense. And I found out on the same episode. Oh, and that was the end of that one. Now everyone thinks I just steal everything.
As you do. I love as well, for you just thinking of a finisher yourself completely out of context, you automatically booked yourself into a feud with Kev.
There was no. I wish you could say as well. There was someone giving me intention, do this and we can kick something off. It was just I fell into something by mistake because I didn't plan ahead at all.
And may I say, you fell with complete and utter grace.
Yeah.
That pretty much sums up my season too, because I was just flying by the seat of my pants because I hadn't a notion. Hence the multiple brain freezes and Amy yelling at me what to do.
Yes. Violent Storm is very much an open book. Like, just as any spots are welcome there for Kira. Like, just take whatever you want. Just like throw it at her and she'll do it.
Help me!
Yeah, pretty much. Not a notion of what to do, what to even think of, and it just like you can literally see me going, "Oh no, there's nothing coming. Help!"
I think it's more a case of like because you're on the spot, like you're watching other people do it, but and you're just thinking like, I would have done this, but when it comes to your turn, it's like, no, I don't know, kick. That's that'll work.
But it also suits her character as well because she's like an indie darling, so she's almost like starting to like picking up the TV like wrestling deal as she goes on. So it makes sense. She's kind of like, oh, I don't know, like she's trying to get that kind of like that spark as she's wrestling. So it kind of works out with the character a little bit, you know. Although with season 2, you're gonna be a bit more experienced, so so keep your spots. Write them down and make sure the team doesn't nick them and you restart it.
And you know something with that.
Have a book.
There you go. Just make a move set from SmackDown versus Raw and you're sorted.
It still didn't help.
Something with that in mind, like it was handy as well, at least for me, for like during the lockdown, kind of getting your mind into the spot calling and kind of into the wrestling mindset for when it all kind of eventually, hopefully, returns. Yeah. It was kind of unique that way. It was nice, you know.
Like I suppose I'll kind of jump in and kind of explain how this all kind of came about, because I think it's only fair we give a bit of a shout out where it's needed. So this all kind of started, I want to say like last summer,
rising from the ashes.
Indeed. Well, actually, no. That was the first episode, but there was an RPG before that, which has kind of been alluded to a little bit here and there. So our good friend Butch of the show and of Crown of the King, you better like download the music or else he shouts at us. So he started off his own RPG on his platform on Twitch, and a few of us were invited to do it, like Amy, Foxy, myself jumped in there, and yourself, Dennis, as well. After a while, there's a few as well, like Tony and Reen and a few others there, just kind of scattered in to be characters, and kind of a similar setup. You know, Butch had his own promotion, and he called it I think it was Absolutely Rapid Sports Entertainment, because the joke it was called Arse, and it was different kind of acronyms I can't remember off the top of my head now, but that was kind of the setup. Basically, it was like very much like a very like the wrestling type gimmick or like wrestling.ie type shows. That was the kind of like energy he was trying to replicate, you know, and it was good fun. Like again, I was a character in it, and I was that kind of Caldecca character, and with Butch being the kind of booker man, it was a nice little dynamic. So we did a couple of episodes, and we kind of had a few kind of like mini storylines going, and then it just kind of like because Butch wanted to move on, got busy then with his own work, so it kind of fizzled out at that point. And just so happens at the same time we were doing Nerds of Us more or less properly as a YouTube channel. So I just thought, yeah, I'll give it a try myself, like, you know, as booker man, as it were. And it just so happened that we got some fantastic recruits in that time, like KC and Jerry Soul and Jamie and Kev and so forth. And we've got a pretty fucking wonderful roster, because it's a lovely dynamic of like people who know wrestling, who either are wrestlers or are fantastic actors. So you've got this great like dynamic of like people that can put in those kind of performances, you know. So it's a lovely mix we have now in this group, you know.
Like what I found really fun about this is the fact that like now, as you said, like we have different backgrounds. Like some of us are involved in wrestling, some are training, some have like different training in other aspects, whether we from acting or just no training at all. But it's nice to see development over the course of the season of like seeing where people really shine. So like for some it's been like the actual like the mind for the wrestling matches, but others have just excelled at the likes of the promos, like like Mr. James Rage there, who's even stumped our friendly neighborhood Jerry twice.
Yeah. I hadn't done promos for a couple of years, and I came on with this. I was like, I gotta come in here now, like, you know, Brian, you know,
I'm gonna show these kids.
I'm gonna show them all up. It took James Rage 5 fucking seconds. 5 seconds. And it just proved to me, I was like, I really need to get a bit more practice. So I got a bit more practice in. 2 weeks later, KC upstaged me in 5 seconds. I'm just like, I'm just going to retire now for the 400 millionth time. But it was certainly interesting joining. I came in halfway through as well, and never seen anything like this before, never been involved in anything like this before, and I've loved it because, as you say, to see the dynamic and all the differences between everybody. And I know we take the piss out of our poor Jim Morris, but it's all in good fun. We are just having a laugh, and I think he knows that as well. To get to do promos with people again has been the highlight for me, because I love doing promos. I love actually being creative, and to have the talent that's here, it's just brilliant.
I was going to ask that, Jared. Did you find that it, like, being away from doing promos and stuff for so long, did you find a kind of little flame in you again, in a way?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. To the point where I was like, I'm gonna put my suit on, and I'm gonna paint the hair and the beard, and I'm gonna do a Jerry Humperdinck promo. And then I was like, actually, no, I'm fucking far too fucking lazy for that. But like, to the point where when Casey did that promo, that amazing promo, that just the lovely video of me going, what the fuck am I watching? It definitely lit a fire under me, because that kind of challenges me. It's like, right now I have to do better now. So the next day and the day after that, I just stood in the sitting room. I told everyone, don't come near me. I have to be on my A game now. And I just came up with this promo, and it was just unfortunate that I didn't even write any of it down, because I couldn't remember any of it when I went to do the promo. But it kind of this definitely gets your creative juices flowing, because you don't really know. Let's be perfectly honest, we don't really know how it's going to go.
No.
You roll the dice, and you could get a snake eyes, or you could get 12, and you don't really know how it's going to go. So it absolutely you have to think of everything. Yes, I know, Foxy, you fucking miserable bollocks. In losing your match because I won't get into it. But it absolutely gets your creative juices flowing, because you have to think of multiple scenarios. If you win, what are you going to say? If you lose, what are you going to say? If you cheat or whatever, if you're heel or face, it absolutely gets you thinking. And I've loved every part of it so far. So hopefully I get to stick around for another little while.
Definitely. That was the beauty of the system we use as well, because like I said, it wasn't like a really a dogmatic RPG we were working with. It's an RPG called Worldwide Wrestling. And it's still in beta as far as I know, but you can buy the playbook and try it out yourselves. And it's kind of designed for a very kind of short-term sessions. It's something you would sit down to do over 3 to 4 hours, and you cut promos over a table and so forth like that. And this is the same system that Butcher was using as well. So there are certain mechanics like your momentum and audience and so forth, but a lot of it is very much down to the players. And that's what I really liked about it. I think it's a sign of a good RPG that just allows you to allow itself to bend the rules ever so slightly. So say if something doesn't work for you as such, the heat, for example, that's your way of building up feuds and so forth. I didn't really use that in front of my RPG. I was kind of using my own kind of observation skills and going, Jim Morris has a good dynamic with Cyrus Gold. I'll put those two together. Violet Storm and KC are having a good feud here. I'll make them team up, or whatever it is, and just pair up that way and just start alternating, whichever I think works best. So in a way, playing Booker Man was quite nice, because you do get to decide where you think the show is going. But sometimes something will happen and you're thinking this is just too good. I can't say no to this, And an example was we've had this kind of overarching story throughout the show, just to kind of add a little bit of spice to some of the feuds. And to be clear, it's actually the only bit of writing I do for the RPG. Otherwise, it's completely improvised, and it's all down to the players. So, for example, I had this 3 or 4 weeks of writing I had in mind. Didn't even pen yet at the time. And I was going this is beat for beat, show off what's happening backstage and so forth this with my own character. And then 1 week, I was knocked out by James Rage and was out injured for a couple of weeks, and just went, fuck that. That's so much better, because that feud was so much better than what I had in mind. And that was the beauty of it as well, because if everything was organic in the RPG to a certain extent, nothing of it was really that prepared outside the matches and occasional big dramatic spots, but otherwise nothing else was that pre-prepared to that extent.
I can entirely attest to that. and relate it back to Violet or Kira's point from before, where I wasn't meant to be in that segment, and instead my music played, and I was told James Rage is coming to the ring at the end of the show, and I knocked out Kyle Decker, and the next week I was running the fucking place.
Yeah. But like I said, but that's the thing, like that alternative works so much better than what I was writing because it's still consistent. It still works with what you're doing. So yeah, having that kind of like air of spontaneity made the RPG feel a bit more real, you know, and that was the whole point of it. But it was a case of the reality was blurring with fiction and stuff like that with certain storylines. So it made sense to keep on that vein. So it's like, oh, well, if James Rage did spark out Decker, then of course he takes over the show. Makes complete sense.
And even with
And may I say, you ran it like a champ. Some cracking shows there.
Like during the course of it, like obviously, like we've kind of seen like the development of everyone like in different aspects, but like we've also seen what they shine at. Like for like what I was kind of alluding to is the fact that some people have excelled at their promos. Some people are really good at the wrestling side, when others are good at where it could be like the backstage like interactions. Like it's not necessarily a promo, but like it's a nice natural like conversation, like or the after credit scenes that we've been thrown in as well. Like they're great like little story tools like that have been added throughout the course of the series. I mean,
yeah,
it's but like for everyone like what like we obviously got attached to our characters, and because like there was room for all that spontaneity, like it was also very rewarding because it started getting comfortable to be able to, okay, what if I did this instead? Like I'm sure, John, you received a few messages from some of the people involved. Is like, what if I did this? Like, what if this happens? Like, okay, like if I win, can this happen? Or even when like a match is happening and someone just jumps in, it's like, can I do a run in here? Like, can it? Like we had a run in on a Zoom call.
We did.
And by far, it's your best work. It is.
Yeah. Like that one in particular is my crowning achievement. Is one. Of my
I will top that in season 2. I'm telling you now. I have a plan, and I'm going to top it.
Oh dear. This is the worst team when you have an actual tag team in the RPG because they keep trying to out fucking do each other. Like, you know, honestly, Kayfabe brothers.
Fuck that prick. He always steals my limelight anyway.
Honestly. But yeah, like that's exactly your point. Like a lot of it, like again, certain points are collaborative, and like that helps me then kind of decide where the story's going. Because again, I'll have a certain idea based on my kind of like taste in wrestling and so forth. But then because we have so many different people and so many different wavelengths in a sense, it's nice to have like an extra person go like, what would they like to do? Because again, as the RPG playbook will tell you itself, like you make the matches, but you don't decide what happens. It's down to the dice. It's down to that. They decide who wins, and it's down to you as a promoter to try and think up on the fly, but also the wrestlers to keep playing it cool. So like I think even from like the first month, you guys thought I was actually booking the outcomes, and that is something you can do. Like you can actually decide who wins. I decided not to. I decided let the dice decide and see where it goes from there. Because again, the challenge is for me to try and make it work. So let's just say, for example, if Alan Morph like suddenly lost a match, like what happens to him? Because he's like one of our, like he was a contender at the time. So it's like, okay, how do I tie that into a story? It's like, oh, he's after losing this massive match against Jim Morris, and he's number one contender. So how does that make Jim Morris work? And how does that make him work? And what you got was Alan Morph kicking serious fucking arse. Like that was because he had to respond in storyline, and Mr. Soul can attest to this. He fucking responded.
Oh, did he? Now, you know, I've known Casey, Jerry, whatever you want to call him, for a long time. We always have this little back and forth banter because obviously we're both named Jerry.
Yeah.
But he calls me the OG Jerry. I call him the real Jerry. You know, so it's the way it goes. So he's always been. I've liked him for the longest time. He's such a nice guy, but I didn't expect him to be. You know, I knew he was creative, but Jesus, where he came with this stuff a couple of weeks ago, it absolutely blew me away. Like those were real reactions I was having. I was like, holy shit, what the hell is going on here? Like, where did this come from? Like, absolutely brilliant. But this actually brings out the best in people because it forces you to go, I'm here. How do I get here? And this guy's done a great promo, but I want to go a bit better. You know, James, right? I want to go a bit better. And I want to be better, and I want to just see where this can go. And you know, KC just took the ball. He didn't run. He went straight to outer fucking space with it.
That's it. It's so easy. It's so easy to get invested in. Like, I found myself several times like losing and going, "Hold on, it's just a game. Fucking relax. It's grand. You can lose a match. It's fine. It's no big deal." You get invested, and then you are going exactly like Jerry said. You are going right next week. I'm gonna fucking out promo you. Fuck you. You know, like.
And he blew us away. He blew us away with it because he was a recurring character that, like, okay, like he's providing funny spots, but at the same time, it's like in the last arc of the series is when we really seen him excel.
Yeah,
like he blew us away with the promos and like his creativity for these spots. And I mean, like, it just shows you how comfortable he's gotten. And same with all of us, we've all gotten comfortable that we've had time to shine at different parts during the series. So like, it just makes to me it makes me excited for season 2, because like with the characters that we have, it's just like, okay, we know where we are now. We know kind of how to better portray it. So therefore, like, we can be more creative come season 2 with them.
Definitely. And it's also because I think everyone's kind of has an idea of where the character wants to go from there as well. Because like again, I love stories because, again, I'm not necessarily an accomplished writer, but I like, if my idea of a good story is when there's a whole lot of mini stories colliding and how does a dynamic, you know, because I love a lot of serialized shows where you have all these kind of like, there's not necessarily one main character, there's several.
Jonathan's favorite movie is fucking Crash or something.
I haven't seen it, but if I was a film buff, I probably would be fawning over it. But at the same time, like, I like having, like, everyone having a story to themselves, you know. And again, that's part of the RPG. What's their motivations, and that helps just you decide where they go. So for someone like Alan Morph, who, like, again, for like the first 3 months of the RPG has been having fun matches and is like really kind of like almost a comedy character in a way, but then suddenly, like, the booking kind of falls into place, and you're thinking like, oh, him versus Silver Fox is going to be a great title match because there's history there, and it's right from the start of the RPG. So it makes sense that the last match of the RPG is the first match of the RPG, and that's where you go, and you work back from there then. But legit, all I did in that was book Alan Moore versus Silver Fox and have him win a battle royal. Everything else is KC, and I love that. Same with like with yourself, James Rage. Like, I like essentially decided, right, this is where we're going, and that's your promo. And same thing, it's just all cliff notes for most people, really. And again, as much of your point, Foxy, people got comfortable in the roles. Like, if you compare like Kira's first week to like the promo from like 2 weeks ago, where she just fucking nails it. She just nails the promo dead on, going like, I'm gonna fucking beat the shit out of Selena. Beautiful. I didn't need to say anything else there. Like, that was exactly what you needed to nail, and that was perfect.
I was just gonna say, actually, like, Foxy, like, this is your podcast, but so please tell me to fuck up if you want. But that's the only time I'll give you permission to do that.
This is his show, Dennis.
I was going to say, it might be interesting to hear from how your character changed from the first one to the last one, because I know mine fucking changed dramatically, and I think everybody's did. Like, obviously, maybe not so much Midas and Morris, purely because arriving in halfway through.
Oh, I won't change, Cutter. I won't change. I'll always be a prick.
And we love you for it, Jerry.
So, like, for me, like, with the RPG, it was more just a case of like, okay, I identified very quickly what I'm bad at, because I knew, like, going in, I had the experience of being involved in wrestling. Like, I know how matches work. So therefore, like, I'm looking at it structure-wise, like, and psychology-wise. It's like, okay, what if I do this? I want to also give them an opportunity that they can do a reversal. They can do this and that. And then, but promos was my biggest weakness in this. And so much so that it wasn't, and I said it to Jonathan, that, like, only until I started doing the arc with KC that I was starting to feel more confident in it, and like, I need to force myself to actually be creatively, like, confident in being able to deliver promos. I'm still bad at it, which was why secretly I was kind of like excited to have like Jerry come on as my manager. I was like, yes, I don't have to talk. He
But
could
again-
do all the talking, let him shine, and put me over, and then I just had to do the matches. It's like, yes,
And then you fucked me over. Well done.
but,
Well done.
but like selfishly, I was really excited to have Jerry on board, like, and do that. But because I knew about the story arc from the start of the RPG, it's like it started with like me and Alan Moore going at it, and him helped me like be torn from being an arrogant prick to like a more fun and like jovial person than I already am. To like having to be corrupted and then have it come full circle where it's he's trying to help me again for the finish of the season. Like so much so that I'd planned it. I talked to John and I was like, all right, here's what I want to do. This is my brainchild. Can we do this? Because I think it makes sense to put him have him look like $1 million like as it were, like by the end of this, because up until that point he hadn't progressed. He was one of the only characters to not progress in the game, and he was always made like a joke of. So therefore, like I purposely wanted him to look the strongest possible. Like it is an underdog story, but like at the same time, it's like it works so well. Like it's tried and true like storyline. But
The reason why they always pull everybody in, like
and Casey is so goddamn good. Like he always makes you laugh, but it was nice to actually see his character adapt and be like, right, here's my serious side. Like you've seen it gradually, like start appearing here bits and like throughout the series. But with the last arc, especially, is when you really seen it. Just like boom, that's it. Like new side to him completely, and I love that. Like it got, like I said, I got more confident with it. It made me like just appreciate it. It's like it's storytelling that I was happy to lose as it were. I purposely made it as like, no, the whole point is for me to lose. I want to be the biggest dickhead if possible, like if I can do it. Or if Jerry,
you won't beat me for that. Fuck off.
But if I can't do that, I have Jerry there as well to like help with the promos, because like he's more experienced for the promos. But like as this RPG proved, is that like even an experienced guy like Jerry can falter, like from a fucking dark horse that is James Rage, like who
never got a promo before this RPG.
Hold on a minute.
I won the fucking
Dark
gnome.
Horse. Hold on. What do you mean Dark Horse? I'm gonna go out here, okay, and say that James is the best fucking promo guy in this RPG. It's as simple as hands down. Hands down, best promo guy in the whole RPG. Blitz is laying everybody else, and nobody's gonna argue with me because I'll fucking smack them upside the head if they do. But there is no dark horse there. He is by and large the best promo guy here. It's back.
No, I totally agree with that. As Booker Man, I totally 100% agree.
But it raises all of us up as well, because then, I got a promo. Standard. I got a promo with James Rage. I'm gonna fucking drown him.
It's not even.
I just point out actually my favorite line that I ever came out with in this RPG was in my promo against Cotter. And it was the one where
what was that?
I was the whole "you're Goliath, but I'm David. I'm gonna fuck your shit up." But I closed with "Fred Rose, get out of the ring," because just like Samuel Beckett, I'm about to take your giant to school. Fucking proud of that.
That's what I love about it. It's like James Rage as a character is such an intellectual because he makes such these witty remarks. But like his template is like he's like fucking Ken Shamrock. So it's like, what happens if Ken Shamrock read a book? That's James Rage. There you go.
And that's actually led to what evolved my character as well. Because when I first started, I was doing a whole almost Kane type fucking silent destroyer thing. And that promo was very early on, but I wasn't really talking then very much. Because I had the pastor with me who did the talking for me, which was played by you, Jonathan. Indeed, that was great and all, but like the thoughts of being able to kind of cut more promos and being able to do something led to kind of the way I took him in the end, where he's much more loose spoken and much freer now, and kind of that leads into season 2, which I hope to actually get to do full on proper promos with the likes of Jerry and with the likes of Jamie and stuff like that, where I can actually, you know, do a little test.
You now have a chance to have a completely new personality, which is what I liked, because as you said, like you have kind of broken free of that kind of like obligation with Fred Rose, because again, like he has this kind of like withering contempt for everybody who doesn't have a Southern American accent and doesn't believe in Jesus. You know, that's the type of character he is, but he's also playing a role. Like he is also one of the most evil person on the roster. So like in that sense, it worked so well for Cutter because he was under his thumb for so long. And then, like, essentially, because he was nice once in a match, Fred Rose went, right, you're on borrowed time, motherfucker. And at that point, that just forces Cutter to just go, well, no, I'm just going to rage against the machine. And it worked perfectly well. Like, that's what I love about every wrestler essentially had a good kind of arc. Again, we didn't quite get to Jim and Midas in the season because you kind of came in halfway through. But you did have the full beans of like 4 months. If you had a start and off point, then you would have had an end point, if that makes sense. We kind of got there with Midas because without a manager, it's easier.
Already have like a performer in mind already to start off season 2, considering the fact that I've beat the champion twice.
Exactly. See, this is a great point.
So immediately, I'm just like, oh yes, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And it'll be like the last time where I written none of it down, and I started talking and went,
dun 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 dun.
I was just like, in my brain I went, oh, it was so good. Like before leading up to it, because when I messaged you about that the last time, I was like, oh, I want to do a promo. I was like, oh, this is gonna be fucking, oh, this is gonna be great. Oh, this is gonna be so good. Because I was thinking about it afterwards, especially in work that day, because I was so bored. I had nothing else to do. I was just sitting there going, oh, this is gonna be fantastic. And then I did it, and I was half of what I had.
So Jim, would that be kind of like somebody came in and just stole it out of your head?
You're exactly right.
By accident.
Yeah, I stole my own promo by accident. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think if I had the full time inside, I think my promos would have been a whole lot better. But now that I already have something to bounce off of from the last season, I can start off better. It just have to see where that goes then after that. Then because Casey at the start, as you say, he wanted a comedy thing, but I did watch his promos afterwards, and he got so good. By the end of it, it was like a completely different character. There was two different people. Like,
oh, I'd say the same for Kira / Violet as well, and that's no disrespect, Kira, but your promos came on 1,000,000%.
Yes,
from the first ones to the last ones, because you were very shy and very reserved. At least that's what came across to me at the start. But then it was really, really good by the end. Very entertaining.
Because that's all me. Because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Especially the first couple of weeks, I'm like watching what everybody's doing and saying, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And it was a case of like information, trying to get it all in, being like, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just going to play it safe. Ish. Is this safe? So that's getting used to what was going on.
Yeah. Like for yourself, like Jamie, like obviously you have an acting background, like so, like I imagine it was a little easier for you to actually.
And one whole training session in wrestling.
It didn't exist. It would have.
But anyway,
he has taken a bump. He can say that he has taken a bump.
But obviously, going into the RPG, like obviously you said that you never cut promo like before, but as that acting experience, like how did you approach developing the character? Like,
that's a character you've had in mind a long time.
It is, yeah, actually. Better to admit that. It's my backyard wrestling character is the foundation of James Rage. So fucking 2005. But so yeah, he's been in development for a while. I suppose the acting helped because it was the whole just the projection of it and the enunciation and all the rest, like the logistics. But you can drop a line but never drop character.
Yeah,
Was a bit of advice I was given before. So it's literally half the time in my promos I have no idea where the fuck it's going, but it's just a case of link it together somehow and try and keep going.
Yeah.
With mixed results.
Like,
go that far.
But I will say, like, and we did talk about it, it's the fact that like your promos have been like top of the fucking pops, like in regards to like the RPG. And like I know you said it, we all can't get over it. It's the fact that like you haven't cut a promo before this, but during the course of this, your promos have been like fucking top level.
Yeah. I remember the first, I think it's either the first or second episode you cut your first promo, and it's like, because again, our original cast would have been ourselves, Tony, Amy, and so forth, before like Jerry and Aaron would have came in. So in a sense, like we were all like having a bit of laugh with the promos, because again, I'm harking back to the old RPG where Butch had as a very fun RPG. So it was a case like we had us holding props and making the mic and doing the promos that way and so forth. And not to say I wanted to have that fun element as well, but it was nice to have a more serious edge to it, because again, you can get emotionally invested in that too. Whereas it's like, oh, this is a completely fictional match under completely fictional rules, but I still want that guy to win, you know. And having someone hook you in like that really does help. So legit, the first like promo James Rage like puts in, I think it was between me, you and Amy, Foxy, that like we messaged you going like that promo was serious. Like that promo was really fucking good. And I was like, yeah, we all need to step up our game here, because it was just that it was the benchmark, and it still is in some regards, just consistently good promos. And the great thing about it was that it helped me work out the character myself a bit more, because again, like from the workshop we did, we were all working off templates. Like, you know, Foxy was the luchador, Jamie was the fighter, Kev was the athlete, and so forth, you know. And the only actual like genuinely original, if you want to call it that, character was Alan Morph, because we all lumped in with that and created a monster, quite literally a fucking monster. And the thing was that we knew where we got. I knew what we had with that character, but everyone else was able to put their own personal touch on it then afterwards with their own people. Like the same with Cutter now starting to have his kind of like starting to come out of his shell, and Violet doing the same. Everyone could do that now, and that's what I loved, was seeing like. What I would love to do now in the downtime is watch the first episode and then watch the last and see where those two where your characters are now from those points on, because you can guarantee you they are fucking chalk and cheese, and so many layers now on top of that as well.
Well, in terms of James, right? Obviously, I think everyone has been absolutely fantastic on this. Okay, but to see his promos and to see them as good as they are. If he appeared on a wrestling show, an actual wrestling show, and did a promo like that in the ring, I'd be like, well, I'll come back next month.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be there. I'm paying good money to see that.
I completely agree with you. And I've actually said this to Jonathan before, like, and to Dennis, the fact that, like, if he did turn up, like, tomorrow, you'd definitely be able to carry a fucking, like, a promo on a show. Well,
that was the idea before
you could visualize it.
All this shit kicked off. With the pandemic, Jamie had just begun coming up to training with me. Like, literally, that's why he only got one in. It wasn't because he couldn't hack it or anything. It's because we got shut down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the intention is, I'm not sure now, but I'm presuming that the intention is to get that back up and running once everything goes up again, you know?
Yeah.
As soon as that door opens, I'm back. So, but I do appreciate.
I'll record Joe's reaction when Jamie puts a promo on him.
I want him to have like his big, beautiful cow-eye eyes as he sees this promo going. I want this character.
No, it'll be the best, because the first promo I ever cut in my life was on Joe Cabré. So I really want Jamie's first one to be on Joe as well, and I think it'll be fucking brilliant.
Well,
I guarantee you, it shed a tear.
If Jamie were to bring that same level of intensity that he has in his promos to a wrestling ring, that's just going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I find it funny. We're all talking about him. It's like he's not even here. And he's just sitting, there. He has a smile on his face, but the eyes just...
He goes loving this.
The eyes just go...
We'll just call the podcast the season finale, and then in brackets put James Rage Wankathon.
I was going to say James Rage Appreciation Podcast, but Wankathon works.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, like not only like obviously like we've seen Jamie like shine with promos, like, but I'd be remiss if I didn't fucking bring up the fact that like other people have shined as well. Like Amy has shined in
Oh, yes.
being able to do
100%.
dueling characters, like double
Mhm.
characters, and some like what was meant to be just like little throwaway like commentary, like
Yes.
actually grew into a character and eventually got tied in a lot more as the series progressed.
Yes.
But I mean,
It
like,
got so much better as the series progressed. It started off from being annoying as shit and going into something that was actually entertaining.
This is the thing.
Does anyone
because
else
the
remember
mechanic-
Kratos as David Attenborough? 'Cause
They've tried to blank that out. You know?
Because this is the thing, like, okay, so again, in the RPG, there's a mechanic called the color commentator, and literally anyone can jump in, be the color commentator, say something, and all it does is to give someone a momentum boost. That the mechanic is there, and again, it's something that, like, when I was reading the rules, going like, "Fuck, why haven't we done this already?" And again, the great thing was because we've already had characters from the first iteration, from the prototype RPG, if you like, and I said, right, let's just give it to Kratos because he was Tony's old character, and Tony had moved on to a new one. So it's like, fair enough. We'll just reuse that guy and let whoever else jump in. So initially, it was just like people just jumping in to say certain lines because I was doing like play by play, So it made sense that like whoever would go color can say whatever the fuck they want and either put over people or just have a joke in mind. So it's kind of between Amy and Foxy, kind of at the start, but like Amy just had the character in her mind already of what this kind of like lovable goofball that she had in mind, and I didn't have to say anything else. It's just like I just had let Amy say the line and play off that then, because she had it already in her head. And yeah, no, like, I was, you see, the reason I said that was because I wanted to ask the question to everybody in the call: who has been your favorite person, excluding yourself, obviously? Who has been your favorite character and storyline from the RPG? Because I'm actually genuinely intrigued to know.
That's an interesting one.
that's a
Yeah.
tough one.
So somebody else go first. I'm going to have to think about that.
I have to tell Morph.
You go, Kerry. Yeah.
Because I absolutely adored the first matches with the David Attenborough commentary, because like the joy, like Amy was like, what character is he going to be now? And like literally researching on the fly, kind of go, right, what puns and comments can I come up with? While Casey is like coming up with these mad moves, but based on the animal. And I'm like, what is happening? It was just so quirky, and you never knew what was going to. Was never a standard match.
Yeah.
And then coming then to the final arc.
Oh yeah. Like,
Yeah.
again, the best thing about watching that promo is watching everyone else's reactions, because there's either jaws dropped or just like smiles from ear to ear, just going like, I fucking love this.
Like, you just
I have to say for me, and it might be a surprise one because it was a bit later on, but it was actually the introduction of Rob Midas. I really enjoyed kind of just the story of this almost Ted DiBiase-esque character in a way, showing up, just throwing his weight around and almost doing the old wrestling storyline of, who's this manager going to pick?
Yes.
People are vying, or he's kind of scouting people. He's not just instantly brought in, he's scouting people. He wants only the best. And then, like, arguably it did like much like Kira's choice, it did kind of lead into that whole dynamic with Foxy and Casey. But yeah, I like the introduction of Midas and kind of just where that was going, because at the start I really didn't predict him going to Silver Fox.
Who would you?
I actually couldn't. I couldn't have called it. That's what I was actually trying to think, and I really couldn't have called it. I thought maybe he'd go with, and our other new character, Jim Morris, or something like, as a new team, because everybody had kind of been established at that point, and I was like, okay, somebody's going to need to do a big old change here if they go with them, because I still had the pastor at that time.
Yes.
So it wasn't going to be me. So it was intriguing to me. I enjoyed it, and of course, Jerry being Jerry, it was just entertaining anyway. So
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you
why I
very
love
much
Jerry's
for that.
that's why I love Jerry's kind of like personal touch on that character as well, because like between the two of us, we kind of had an idea. Well, we're kind of it started off close to Jerry Soul. Like it was a guy like the pinstripe suit, the hair, like the watch, the whole thing, like a man of success. And the whole idea was that like literally, like whoever he decides to manage, they will become champion or they will be successful. But in the end, it was kind of like Rob Midas is kind of this like human Necronomicon. Like you have to sell your soul in order to make this work, but it will work. You will become champion if you're managed.
And that's the thing as well. It was one of the few stories that wasn't wrapped up. It was kind of like I was left going, okay, what's Midas going to do now in season 2? Because he's obviously left with a big open end there, and that to me is interesting. You know, so that's what I think.
Well, we'll see how that one goes.
You gotta keep some mysteries.
Oh yeah, you know, I'm not saying anything. I'm not be fucking managing you again anyway, you bollocks. But in terms of, you know, coming in, I talked to Jonathan about what he wanted me to do, but I was like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? And I just said, right, go back to the start. So I went back to the very start of Jerry Soul, which is 15 years ago. And it was exactly how I started off. People saw me come out. I was wearing a suit. I would hand out business cards to various wrestlers, and that would be it. And it came to a point, my very first promo, and I'll never forget this, getting up in the middle of a ring with a mic and the mic not working. So me having to project my voice to everyone. So I was like, right, I'm going to channel a little bit of that early Jerry Soul into this, and Rob Midas would be the first iteration of Jerry Soul, because Jerry Soul has gone through many morphs, we would say, over the last few years. And for me, as much as I'm definitely pulling the plums off Jamie today, for me, Alan Morph and his road to the championship has just been brilliant. I have absolutely loved it from start to finish, and the fact that I got to be part of that as well just makes it, for me, it was like, it's just brilliant. It's been absolutely fantastic. And to see Casey go from the kind of lovable, funny comedy act to being a bit more serious, the fantastic promos, the promo that he did against me, and then the dueling promo we did on one of the last shows, I was just like, I'm loving every minute of this. And he has excelled from strength to strength, week in, week out. He's, by and large, for me, he was my favorite part of it. So far anyway. We'll see how season 2 goes.
What about yourself, Jim?
Oh yeah, the Alex Moore thing is probably the best one, just because it was just too. Because when I started, I just thought the character was just a joke, which it was, and he was a dolphin, and for him to progress his promos and character development and everything in it, it was like one of the main ones. And the whole James Rage thing as well near the end was his storyline against who I've forgotten was also good, but the Alex Morph thing was probably my favorite one. I know it was against you. I just can't remember the character's name because I'm the worst when it comes to names.
I'm the general manager, you shit.
This was very much like I wasn't listening. Alex Morph, he was the best. The Alex Morph lad.
So I'm going to take it.
Hold on, let's call a spade a spade here. Let's call a spade a spade here. Hold on, Jim. Let's call a spade here. You just robbed my fucking promo. That's all you did. You robbed my fucking promo.
Well, look, I have to keep it up appearances, all right? Gotta keep doing what I'm doing.
I'm going to take that as a point of contention, though, because my favorite story arc of all of this has been the evolution of Alan Morph. Because
he's good, isn't he?
No, but even back at the start, he wasn't actually a joke character. Like, he had the gimmick and he worked that in. But if you watch, like, in his matches, it all made sense. And there was actually, like, this weird intensity to it that was really fucking understated. But it was there. Like, his match against Cutter, he was genuinely vicious. He was a badger, I believe, so it worked.
Little shit.
Yeah.
But it was there all the way along, which is why I threw in the thing about Rage being afraid of him, because he's proper crazy. And but all the way up to the moment when he unmasked and went mental with the pipe, he played it so fucking well. Like, it was understated. He was during everyone else's segments leading up to that, he was acting terrified of Jerry Soule or Rob Midas. He was acting genuinely nervous to be going out there and having the match, and he was like, "Oh God!" And then all of a sudden, he goes out and out of nowhere just rips off the mask, literally unmasking himself and just tearing into it, and it was fucking amazing. But yeah, that's big up Alan.
Like it's a bit unfair because like I said earlier, it's like everyone's had their chance to shine throughout the RPG, and it's and in more ways than one, there's been people that they've shined at this, and that's been the favorite. Then it'd be someone else has their time to shine, and you just like that's your favorite moment. It like we steadily got better and better and better, but at the same time, it's like it's unfair to pick, like because I mean like you had like Amy doing two roles, and then in one segment three. You have John doing like three different fucking roles in the course of like the RPG. Like I did two briefly, like but it's like even Kev doing like Cyrus Gold. It's just like a natural athlete, very good as a mic person.
Yes.
Like and still like a little bit underrated because like he's able to go off the cuff and actually bounce off what people say as well. Yeah. And it shouldn't be understated like how good like there's a talent to that which is not you don't see often, but Alan Morph, yes, I think that's gonna be the clear definitive winner, like in terms of like development over the whole thing, like being the like just to provide so many different moments that you're just like yes, like giving you that genuine like feelings like I love this character, like what is they gonna do next, and then surprising us every time. Like so Alan Morph is definitely like my one anyway.
Yeah, like even me trying to, I've had this conversation tons of times, but even trying to like picture this character in a real setting, like imagine like going to a wrestling show and just seeing someone dress up as say like a badger one week and then like a bee the next, and then wrestling a completely different style to complement what he's dressing up as. Like you would have to be you'd have to be like Ian McKellen levels of actor to pull that off. You would have to be the best actor that's ever lived to make that work, because again, from week to week, you have to be consistent in yourself, but also consistent in your character. So yeah, like that's a huge one. And again, once Casey and the rest of it kind of like chipped in with that gimmick, we just thought, oh, this is fucking money. This is legit like the funniest thing I've ever heard of wrestling, and it's not even a real person. That is the one downside to Alan Morph, is that he's a fictional fucking character. That is the one negative, you know. As well as the GM, I do have a few personal favorites, because again, from kind of putting them in matches and also doing the after credits part. NPC wise, my favorite NPC is a bit of a late bloomer. It's a bit of a running gag, and I fucking love it. The Battle Royal Specialist Ratman. Now, right, I have to explain this, okay? So again, this is a legacy character from Butcher's RPG. It's a tag team just called Ratman and Bobbin. Naturally, you can imagine where he got that from. And I said, I have to keep that in. That's just a fun. Actually, Amy wanted the tag team to stay in. I said, okay, fair enough. I'll throw them in as jobbers, and we'll see them every now and then. And the best thing about it was that later on, like again, they got fuck all mileage throughout the whole RPG until suddenly decided, okay, let's do a battle royal to see who faces Silver Fox, right? And I thought at the time, oh, a nice gimmick would be if everyone like rolls the dice or picks a number, and that's who you have in the battle royal, and that works out that way. And just for some weird reason, Ratman was picked both times and nearly won both. And it's like, that is unnatural. Like, have you ever heard of a wrestler that's unconditionally good at battle royals and nothing else? Like, that doesn't work. That's not a character. That's not a specialty. But for this one jobber, who again, you have to imagine, is 6 foot, is like a real like lanky streak of piss, dressed up as like a little Batman. Like, of course, it works for him, and that's the only thing. So he's definitely a favorite. Kratos has to be up there as well, just for the sheer fact of like whatever I had in mind for Kratos as like, you know, as your color commentator, because I think I said in the first episode he was like Taz, you know, And I was thinking, like, no, it's nothing like that now. Like, you know, he had layers to his character. Like, he was a weird, like, kind of like, you know, wife, like, fucking like fancier for a while. Then he was just like, oh, he's also this now. He's in a relationship with Amy now, or with Selena at this stage, which is totally fine considering they're both played by Amy. Totally fine. And then now had his own kind of mythos as well with the non-canon episodes. You know, that was a personal highlight for me because they were so different. And that was my favorite thing about that. And I suppose in terms of write for, like, I think Selena is high up there as well because, again, similar legacy character, but she's also coming in as a top star anyway. And just seeing, like, what can we do with her? And for what it's worth, I personally love the fact that she was moving on because, again, the whole point of the RPG is progression. Like, somebody has to be top of the card. Somebody has to either, and shockingly enough, like, it's normally expected for someone to either, like, move on from the show or retire or something like that. So having her actually move on and get the happy ending she wanted from all the politics she had to put up with throughout the entire show. Because, again, in the original RPG, she was world champion and she got there by merit. And for some reason, it just never happened in this one. And it just felt so right that she got what she wanted. Like, from a writing standpoint, I'm so glad how that wrapped up so well. And you can see from Amy, like, she was really attached to that character, and she's really happy that she's moved on and now gets to play a total bitch in season 2, which I'm sure she's looking forward to. But yeah, I think it's up there. Obviously, Alan
Wait,
Murphy.
she wasn't in season 1?
Well, no, she was a face. She was sassy. You know, she had her moments, but she was unconditionally a face. You know,
That's the
until,
difference
like,
between being a heel. That's the difference between being a heel and a face. When you're a heel, you're a bitch. When you're a face, you're sassy.
Yeah. You're moody, like the moody Alice, moody black.
Let's put it as a tweener. A tweener.
Yes, there we go. That's more like it. But yeah, like, certainly those are the highlight. Those are personal highlights for me as well. You know, although I'll be honest, I did quite like playing Pastor Fred Rose. I'm surprised how well I took to that character because I do not believe in Jesus. So I'm surprised that worked out really well.
I'm surprised you didn't even just throw that line. It's like, Jesus.
Like, jeez, I was trying to avoid it so much. Like, you have no idea.
That's like Chekhov's gun. It's just like, yeah, it's there to be used. Like,
that's it. Yeah.
Only those will get it.
I know when I was involved with the Rose thing, especially with the religious element of it, one thing I was specifically not doing was naming any one religion in particular that it was meant to be a kind of take of.
Yes.
So that could be kind of anything, you know, just because to keep it generic, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that. Because, like I said, it was kind of the same thing here. Like I say, I'd say the Bible every now and then, but, like, I don't know enough of it to quote scripture. So it was a case of, like, what was the kind of, like, the weird, like, kind of the rhetoric around it more than anything else, and that kind of worked because, again, he's playing a pastor character, but he's not quite good at it. He is his own. He's a more sinister person behind that, you know. So it made sense. He didn't have to be 100%, you know, into, like, Christian dogma because he wasn't. He's a capitalist. So
it's kind of like it always makes me think of, like, Pritchard as Brother Love, kind of where you know it's modeled off the televangelists, but it's
absolutely,
not. Yeah. He wasn't preaching, but it was very obvious what he was doing.
Oh yeah, like,
you know?
Again, the inspiration for the character was Kenneth Copeland. Like, he is awful rubbery faced evangelist.
That's who I actually envisioned in my head, except fatter.
Yeah, no, he is.
I envisioned a Kenneth Copeland sinister minister mix, which is just horrifying to think of.
I'll say we have some great evil characters on the roster. I'd say that much. That's for sure.
I had a really fucked up vision of Fred Rose for the first several weeks because my internet did this jumpy thing where I didn't catch all of the promo on the description of Cutter's first match. And you were describing the guy he was squashing as a Russell Brand lookalike.
Yes.
And genuinely thought you meant Fred Rose and just ran with that for like
that's
a month and a half.
Every single time I heard the name, I kept thinking the exact same thing. My brain immediately went to Fred Rose, and I don't know why. It just wouldn't go away. No matter how much I tried to, like, just, like, separate it to my head, is like every single time. Not just Fred Rose. That's all I'm thinking of. That's all I'm thinking of.
It could be worse, lads, considering that like for a few weeks Amy was calling him Fred West, so it could have been a lot worse. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, fuck! I forgot that. Jesus.
And The only thing is, Amy's kind of half right because I did pick the name Fred and Rose off those two. Like that is legit
Makes
how I got the
sense.
name. Yeah. So yeah,
God.
she was
And that's actually very similar to how I got the. Remember when you asked us like our real names, our kayfabe real names? Then Cutter was Ryan Jones. That's the same way I got the his name, which was Jim Jones, and the first person that was killed in connection to him was Paul Ryan. Ryan Jones.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. See, again, I like that because again, that was just one aspect of it because it was a total curveball. It's not involved in the RPG. It's just for whatever like little like under the radar storylines I wanted to run. Again, because I like the idea of like reality blurring with fiction. So it made sense to have like they're not going to call themselves their shoot names all the time. They're going to go by real whenever they're pissed off or whatever, whenever the scene suits. So yeah, that was a nice touch. And it's also the case of just throwing everyone a curveball. What's your real name? It's like Kira, no, your real name. It's like Annie. All right, fine, done. That's all. So yeah, it was a nice touch.
Like it's not like I think we can all agree. Like at this point, like we're excited about going into season 2 because like obviously we know where our characters are and where we kind of want to take them, and obviously like we'll be put into different situations now that we're going to be better prepared for. It's also, it allows us the opportunity to be like, okay, now that we're more comfortable, like I know for me, it'll be a more case of like, okay, now I have to restart. I have to really rethink like this character, like if he's going to stick around and what way his personality is going to be affected going forward. So it does get the creative juices going, and it just makes me excited for the next season.
Yeah.
I don't know, but what about yourselves?
Oh, completely. I mean, as I touched on earlier on, I'm excited to see where it goes. With my own characters, see where I can take them, what changes I can make. It always keeps me on my toes with thinking about it too. I mean, something you touched on earlier, Foxy, was like, that I always find as an interesting dynamic is like sometimes it's right to lose. Like sometimes you want you want to, like, you're obviously at the mercy of the dice, but sometimes you're like, this would be a much better story now if I lose. So I'm hoping that I get those, like, and moments like that are kind of what draw me in, where you start thinking of the show as a bigger whole. And that's what interests me about season 2 is like the new dynamics, people that I haven't gotten to go. I said earlier on, like getting to promo with Jerry or Jamie and all them. And like stuff like that gets me excited to think about kind of going that route for me personally. I don't know about the rest of you.
Well, like I said, and that's the beauty of season 2, because again, like all of our characters can have a bit of a reset, and the way this system works, like if you wanted to switch gimmick and do something else, you can. Like say if James Rage wanted to switch from fighter to do something a bit more like not necessarily like bespoke, or something like a bit more versatile than that, that is a possibility. You can switch with someone else, because there's other characters like Ace and so forth that have different like skill sets and different promos, the kind of way.
Is it too early to actually put in a request for that?
No.
World exclusive.
Yes.
All fair.
Yes. Don't give away too much already, Mr. Rage.
Well, I have to say for myself, obviously, I no longer have a client, so it's a thing where the sky's the limit really for me, because you could see me literally with anybody next season, and that
or even
excites me.
in a running the show.
Or I could decide that, you know what, I'm actually an active wrestler now. So
Yeah,
you never know. Anything could happen. Or I might just disappear and never fucking come back. So we'll see.
Oh no.
You have a contract here, mate. I can't. Yeah, it's done. You can't dissolve it. Sorry.
Well, no. Well, a mysterious character could come in called Mobritis. So you just don't know.
Anybody, you never know. What's like doing in the Impact Zone?
Like I know I said like I'm excited about like rethinking the character, but I'm also excited about some of the loose ends that need to be tied up come the second season. Like the whole thing with Rob Midas, I'm looking forward to, because this is going to force me to try and get better at promos, and it's going to happen sooner or later that I will have to like promo against Jerry, and I'm completely like shitting a brick when it comes to that. Because
Look, just think of it this way, right? There's going to be a lot of you little bollocks coming from me to you. So
no, but like things like that is like it's what makes me excited about like for the upcoming like second season when we start getting around to doing that. But I mean, like, yeah, like it also means that like even though we have our characters, we can also like tweak it and just like okay, give them a new look. They've taken their time. It's like what Jonathan said, it's a little refresh, and that's brilliant to me. Like that's basically like okay, we can get new artwork done of our characters and be like, yeah, this is his new look going forward, or this is my look going forward.
I really want James Rage to re-debut with like Slam Master J. You know, like like
he's gonna be Shorty J.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Please
pull it off as well. He'd be the angriest little rapper you've ever seen.
I'm not gonna lie, it just reminded me like the fact that over the course of the series we started doing, obviously we did the after credit scenes, and in the discussions that we've had, like myself, Jonathan, Dennis, and Amy, is the fact that like we'd be doing these like after credit scenes, but during the course we'd be like, can we not just like switch this to a radio drama and just like it's just the wrestling's there, but like no, let's just play out like a radio drama.
No, let's be clear. Amy's only in the RPG for the gossip. Like this is it. Like she is in for the scandal. And like there's some characters that have like so much personal shit going on, and like my character included, because again, as a GM, I don't want to be involved whole meal into the show. Like he again is manager. He doesn't have to be
I thought you meant the gossip we do off here.
That too. There's quite a lot of that
as well.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of that as well. But even then, like she's more invested in like again, I'm joking. Obviously, she does want to be part of the RPG regardless. But like she just loves the gossip of it. Of just like I like even for when I'm writing, like I've just left a little tease here and there about over a bigger story going on, and I love doing that myself because I know that winds up other people, even just not even watching the video because probably no one gives a shit, but people in the RPG want to know, and that's satisfying to me. It's like, what the fuck's happening with your character? What's the plot twist? It's great, and I love doing that. I love winding people up with writing.
Those like obviously like we'll probably like wind down in a minute, but like what would be like everyone's like final thoughts like about going forward? It's in terms of is there anything that you would change in how it was done, like the RPG is done or presented? What like does that strike out like that? It's like maybe if this was changed, or maybe if I could do this. Like
no, I think the way it is right now, I think is absolutely perfect because it's not too scripted. You know, Jonathan will give us like, right, it's going to be you versus you, and you're going to manage this guy, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he will kind of nudge us in little directions, but majority of it is us, and that's what I love about it, because you don't know what's going to happen next. Exactly what's exciting about it. Like I could be working with James Rage one day, the next week I'll be working with Jim Morris, the next week I'm doing a promo with Cutter, which I hope get to do all of that stuff. You know, for me it made me reevaluate my promos. I was like, no, I need to kick it up a gear, and I think that's what everyone else is doing, whether it be in matches or how creative they're going to get in that to promos. Everyone wants to be as creative as they possibly can. And that's what's going to make season 2 even better than season 1, because there's so much more that we're going to do.
Definitely agree with that. Anyone else? Grant, they want to
say I completely agree with that point. But but in season 1 we got a lot done. In season 2 we have that foundation to work from. So
exactly,
it should be really good. Hopefully.
And you know, I think it's been a great thing on a personal lockdown, during a personal level during lockdown. Something entertaining to do, come hang out and all that. And you know, I hope that people are listening to it find it entertaining too. You know, because it has been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and season 2, I'm psyched for the reasons I said earlier on. I don't want to repeat myself, but yeah, I'm psyched.
I think Jim will be excited to debut a new finisher. I think that'll be his arc for season 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the fact that, like, because the character was originally supposed to be a Jim Cornette thing going on there, I never really was able to like cling onto that or do anything right. But now that I have something to springboard off of with the new world champion, even if I don't do anything with him, it's given me an idea that right now I can actually do what I wanted to do in the first place because I have something to bounce off of to start with properly.
You have a base.
Yeah, like it's just going to be better. It's going to be easier for me to get into the zone of thinking of a new finisher is going to be fun too.
I want to
send me your finishers.
Yeah,
I want you to all send me your finishers just so I can see what's there.
I want us to run a gimmick where, like, every time Jim Morris has a new finisher, and just someone from the crowd pops up and goes, "Simpsons did it," and like, he has to start off with a new one.
or be literally like the censors at Peacock, just like no.
Nope.
No, no,
No.
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 God.
I love that. I suppose Kira has one as well because she still has her Money in the Bank / King of the Ring gimmick back in her back pocket, so she's a threat as well. Like, so everyone's set up fairly well for.
Shit, I forgot about that. Fuck, she's right up in that title picture.
And she can cash in whenever she wants. She just has to give the
word. And the history with Alan Morph. Okay, now I want that.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting for the proper moment, you see. You never know when.
Exactly.
Difference.
And you know, the last thing is, like, again, the stuff you kind of said for the stuff for season 2, like, as GM and also the person putting the video together, like, you know, a lot of it is down to kind of production way. So I've even talked to you guys already, like, what, like, very minor things I would do, but just improve the presentation of the video and that. But I suppose from, like, an actual RPG point of view, like, I legit have been loving the non-canon episodes. You know, that, like, we've only done 2, right? But we have so many stupid ideas that are going to happen at some point. You know, like, I have ideas for one-shot RPGs we could do. The Christmas episode we did was the first one, and that was great. Because the whole idea is that, like, Kratos, the color commentator, thinks he can fantasy book. And I do mean thinks. Because literally all of his, like, matches and shows and so forth are just based off movies he likes. And seeing that Amy has, like, this fucking, like, stupid amount of knowledge of films, it's perfect. She just, like, picks the films, we work them into gimmicks, and that's your match. Like, the Christmas special was literally a hodgepodge of Christmas films. Like, Foxy was Die Hard, fucking Cyrus Skull was Home Alone, Alan Morph was The Muppets, Christmas Carol, and I can't remember all of them offhand now, but I think Cutter was Elf. Elf was fucking hilarious. I love that. That was fucking that popped me so hard when I was doing it because I didn't know what to expect. I just said, "Okay, Cutter, you're gonna be Will Ferrell playing Elf, action," and that was it. That's all I needed to say.
Huh. I didn't know what I was gonna fucking do literally till you said that either. I was like, "Oh fuck." I'll just talk really fast and incoherently. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and it worked so well. And then James Rage was like the perfect Scrooge. Like, he was literally just going in and stamping on everyone's toys. It was fucking great.
Or like the later, like the non-canon where, like, we had a film noir match.
Oh,
like a film noir match.
So proud of that. I am so proud of that. Again, we picked the perfect person to book that in. Like, legit. Like, I wouldn't mind. It's a pity, Aaron, you weren't able to make that session because I had it in my mind that, like, James Rage would have these fantastic, like, monologues where he goes on and talks about how his pain and suffering, and then Jim Morris is like in a monologue goes, "Sure, look at be grand," and that's all what's going through his head. Sure, look at. But, like, yeah, that show in particular, like, again, that is the most heavily scripted Future Wrestling episode because I wrote those kind of, like, little sequences and recorded the stupid B-roll from Gran Turismo and made that all work. Like, again, that was like a nice, like, rambling. This was like, oh, there's actually something in there that could work, and it was beautiful. It's probably my best work ever. My best work that'll ever be, to be honest.
Aim for the stars, Jonathan. Aim for the stars.
Aim for the fucking asphalt, more like.
Like, with that, it's just like it is like it just shows that, like, ideas that didn't get used for this season can definitely be used going forward in non-canon episodes, and
Definitely.
that's exciting as well. It is like just like, oh, the possibilities.
We've had this joke, but we've now kind of decided to be concrete. Anyone that picks up a concussion gets a non-canon episode. Like legit, like because Kratos the first one, like Jamie fucking sparked him out and got a concussion out of it. So he made a Christmas special in his own head. And then suddenly, like every time someone gets bonked on the head, presumably by Jamie, because he's the only one that does this, and just that will give us a canon episode. So now it's like, okay, who was the character? When do we do it? And what does he like? And what does she like? And yeah,
Jonathan, is there a specific like thing you can think of that you maybe you regret it didn't pan out a different way, or you had a vision it didn't really work out, or something you didn't get to do you would have liked to have seen specifically?
Very good question. Again, not much now, to be honest. Like again, from the second like half on, I was so fucking happy with everything played out. Every box was ticked. I think from the start I was probably doing a bit too much on the whole like the stories, like kind of like the background stories, let's say, of like what's happening with Selena and so forth. Like the biggest regret I would say would be the actually, okay, most of them are gaffes, to be honest. None of them are actually regretful. But the one I would say was like from the first pay-per-view where Selena is like screwed out, has a screw job finish, and I didn't tell Amy about that. That's my biggest regret, because I was too stuck in the kayfabe of thinking like, well, I need an actual genuine reaction, you know, whereas I should have trusted Amy to kick off herself, because of course she would, you know, like that she's part of the character, she's in the character, so of course she'd kick off if she just had prior knowledge, and that throws her into a storyline. So that was probably the biggest one, really. And that
was that when I screwed her over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I had it set up where like she gets like pinned immediately, she doesn't get a chance to roll, and the idea was that she'd have like this very genuine reaction of like being angry, but that was just me overthinking it. I should have just had her on board, and she would have done that anyway. But that was the main one, really. I mean, my favorite gaff though, and Amy would like beat me over the head with this if she was on, was the heel turn where she had to get the dice roll, right? So again, when you're GM and you're so used to saying the same phrases, again, you'll probably have to take a drink every time I say, please roll your dice when you're doing this. But like myself, Amy, and obviously like Foxy knows a bit about the booking at this time. We have agreed, right, Selena's going to turn heel on Violet Storm. That gives them a great feud to go forward and towards the end of the season, whatever it is. And legit, we had decided this is what we're happening. We're not going to tell Kira, because again, we want that genuine reaction. And literally goes, I'm going to DDT her and turn heel on her. It's like, right, give us a roll. And immediately my head was going, why the fuck did you say that? What the fuck? We all agreed on that. Why did you ask for a roll? It's like I was so used to just saying like, yeah, no, roll, make sure it happens. And like Amy's going like, shit.
Just killed the reaction right there.
I was going to say, yeah, it kind of ruined the momentum of the suddenness of it.
I nuked all the tension, but thankfully I did edit it so it didn't come across as bad. But yeah, that was a particular like gaff for me. The other one that's coming to mind is the rope break rule, which I was very fond of myself. Because just for how
was this with Kevin Jim?
Yeah.
He just had to glance in the direction of the ropes and it was broken up.
So what happens is, right, so Kevin and Aaron are doing a spot where they're crawling out by the barricade, right, and it's an 8 count. So Kev goes in, basically looking for the count of victory, or at least at the time I think he was, right? So I get to Jim, he does a successful roll, so he's going to get in before the 10 count. But I make such a tits up of explaining that he gets in just before the 10 count, that it comes across that the referee gave him the benefit of the doubt because he had his hand on the apron. Like his arm was there, more or less got there, like, you know, so he stopped the count that way. I just made like look back on it in the last damn pay-per-view, because I rightfully got massacred for that, and like absolutely should have, because that was terrible. You know, just like, because it does. Okay, again, the best thing about it, watch Foxy's reaction, because he is livid. He's livid at that, because that's his match. That's his show. That's his fucking like career ruined if that rule was applied.
Yes, like that's like. I know, like it's an RPG and it's meant to be for fun, but like certain bits need logic, and it's just like that was one of the moments that actually needed it, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
And it was
exactly.
it wasn't a sudden thing. It was building to that because when it was happening, Kev had to tell you just before as well. I was like, no, I'm going for the fucking count out. What are you doing? It's like,
Exactly.
you know, like,
That's the thing. It's like, yeah, that's what happens when you're just not paying attention to your own thing. It's just like you're just literally just talking words now at this stage, filling the air.
Just
That's
doing
a
my
lot.
best fucking Joker Bray impression. What the fuck are you doing?
This is why I'll never be a referee. Go, I know he did. He got there. Like he there. Like
I mean, he was going to get there. All he need, like, he was going to be fine. Just assume he was going to be grand. Like,
Yeah.
Right. So, like, obviously, like, excited for season 2 and the possibilities that's going to come. And with that, like, I think it's best. Otherwise, we ramble on for a lot longer.
Definitely. Yeah.
But as we roll out for the finish, this is the season finale of the Foxy Bros podcast. Hopefully,
Actually, Foxy, can I just stop you there? Can you please give us a roll to make sure you can finish this?
how about you go fuck yourself?
he's waited all season to say that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the last ever episode of the Foxy Bros podcast because he's been fired.
From his own podcast. Jesus.
Yes.
But no, but like seriously, like with this, it's the season finale of the podcast because I want to take time to actually reevaluate how to better present the podcast, and also especially for the YouTube side of it, because I do want to start incorporating the video aspect, but also trying to throw in like either little captions or little photographs to better, for the better of the audience that are watching it, they can actually get they're along for the ride and they're not out of the loop. So these are little things that I have to evaluate. But on that note, like, I would love to thank everyone for coming on, and thank you to anyone that listens to it. If you do, please let us know what you thought of it. If you watched the RPG, please, or if you want to watch the RPG, please go watch it on the Nerds Are Us channel on YouTube. There's loads of other great content as well. And please like and subscribe and do all that good stuff. But on that note, I'd like to thank everyone else that appeared in the show, and we will see you again sometime soon. Bye.
Adios.
Yeah.